Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fourth for Growth podcast. I'm Ricardo.
I'm Courtney. Hello. And thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about, are you paying attention? Hmm. So this should be a good one.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Courtney, what do we have? Like, I don't know here. This is
Okay.
such a big topic. And I
Well,
and I say and I feel like I say that about every episode that we do, that it's such a big topic. But this one is interesting to me because I feel that people don't pay attention anymore.
yeah.
I
No,
think I kind of feel that we're in a spoon-fed society.
yeah. And it's very like if it's not right in front of us, we don't even think to look for it. And granted,
Correct.
I we could always use an example of looking for something, but like metaphorically speaking, like what signs are you missing in your life? What feedback are you missing? What are you ignoring on purpose, but calling it not paying attention? So I think it's a big subject.
All sorts of stuff here. So
Yeah.
we got to be quick because there's a lot to cover here. So what's one thing that people need to pay attention for to?
Just the details when you start. Just look at the detail. Like when we were in elementary school, read the directions. There's oh my goodness, so many examples I can think of. But a few hours ago, so this morning, I wake up early and I always try to get one or two quotes out before my day starts or whatever the sun comes up. So basically, I do this whole quote on this house for a friend. And anyway, it was marvelous. I found a great rate. And then come to find out, I look back at her email and she's like, hey, by the way, we moved this house. And so if I would have first pulled up that email this morning and looked at it fresh instead of kind of picking up where I left off and read the directions, just double check the directions, I would have saved myself about an hour. So
Pay attention,
that's a real
Courtney.
life example. Yeah, pay attention.
This stuff costs you money. This stuff costs you
Hmm.
time. Like I can't think of how many times that even still people that I've been quote unquote friends with on Facebook for years, they'll see us come on live and they're like, "Oh, you got a podcast?
Yeah.
Well, dude, where have you been?
I know. I still get that after a year. It's like, "Oh, really? Where?" And I don't know how
Where,
you can miss it if you're
how
friends
can
with us on Facebook.
how can you miss it? I don't get it. I don't
Yes.
get it. You got to pay attention, man.
Yes.
Again, I think that we're like in this spoon-fed society where we're expecting people to cater to our whim. We're in this microwave society where we're expecting people to do what we want them to do at the push of a button,
Yeah.
and we're expecting that in every area of our life.
Mhm.
We want it, and we want it now.
Yeah, and it's important to pay attention to the conditioning we've all been through our whole life because we've only gotten more and more gotten closer to that instant gratification culture. And it's the whole idea of, like, for example, financing a car. You pay interest because you're getting it up front. You're getting the asset up front before you have to pay. Back in the day, if you
Correct.
didn't have the total for the car, tough. You don't get the car. And so it's kind of that mindset that I see over everything. It's like, oh, give it to me now. I deserve it now. And it's an interesting concept because do you really? Or is that the society conditioning
Mhm.
that we're used to? And that's a little off topic for paying attention
A
exactly,
little
but
bit, but
but
that's
it's
okay.
yeah, but it's related. So,
All right, I got
okay.
one.
You do. Okay.
Paying attention to your emotions. Are you
Okay.
in the present? Are you in the past? Are you in the future?
Mhm.
So let me play a little game with you, Courtney.
Okay.
That chair is red for a reason. Why? Because it's the dun dun dun
Yes.
hot seat.
I love that you've named it the hot seat. It's
Well, it
just
is
lining it
red.
up for every episode, aren't I?
I know. You're just like, all right.
Okay.
Think of something that you've been putting off that you really need to do that you have strong emotions about.
Okay.
You got it?
I do.
All right. And see, here's the thing. Without even talking about it, what specific it is, and we can talk about it if it needs to come up, but without even knowing what it is, I will say, if you pay attention to those emotions that come up from getting this one thing done, that they're from the past.
Mm.
Am I right or am I
I
wrong?
think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good observation.
So now here's the thing. If you pay attention to that, you're not being in the present, you're either in the past or sometimes even in the future because of what you think may happen if you do it. You're not in the present. So,
Hmm.
according to Dr. Joe Dispenza, he says that if you're living your life based on an emotion from the past, that emotion is greater than the emotions you're feeling in the present.
Mm,
So
that's
think about
interesting.
that statement and apply it to that situation. How does that make you feel?
That's interesting. It's yeah, it really livens up the there are a lot of emotions on kind of self-shame as to why I haven't gotten it done, but that's me being,
In the
past and
past.
future. Yeah. So,
Correct.
but it is interesting when I stay in the present with it, that just starts to dissolve. And the more
It
I were to
does.
think on that and focus on that, that would probably dissolve completely.
Now, here, think about this one. Now, if you're continuing to live your emotions based on the past, right? Past
Hmm.
experience, past emotions, past feelings, and these emotions are greater than the emotions that you're feeling in the present that are stopping you from doing this thing, right?
Hmm.
Wouldn't it make sense that if you did this thing, that those emotions do dissipate
Hmm.
because you're starting something new? And if you continue living your life from the past, you're most likely repeating this cycle over and over and over again in other areas of your life with the same emotion.
Yeah, because we get what we focus on.
Correct. Now, if you wouldn't have paid attention to it, if I wouldn't have said, "Hey, Courtney, pay attention to those emotions. Are they in the present? Are they in the past? Or are they in the future?" You would have just been like, "Huh, I'm just
Yeah.
having these emotions."
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
It would be a very kind of blasé, like,
but here's the thing though, when you have that emotion about doing this thing, and again, context doesn't matter because this is just a general Joe Dispenza thing. You can find it in all of his books and all of his material. If you're paying attention to those emotions, you're gonna realize that they're either in the past or the present. Without paying attention to those emotions, they're gonna feel that they are in the present.
hmm, which makes me feel drained right away.
Correct.
Like it just
But the
all
truth is
energy
that these
absorbed.
came up from the past. These are
Yeah.
past feelings, past emotions, past thoughts that keep on creeping up, but they're more powerful than the present moment. And we don't want to do that because that
Right.
just means we're living in the past.
Exactly.
And if you want to grow, are you living in the past or are you living in the present or are you living in the future?
You guys, we've already been to the past. Okay, let's see what else there is to explore.
Correct. But you got to pay attention to that.
Hmm. That's a great point. Yeah, it's a lot can be clarified very quickly within your own mind and heart if you can just get in the present. Get in the present. It's that whole idea of do you really have a problem right now? Or do you have heavy anxiety about something in the future or regret about something in the past that you're replaying in your head? So it's just where if you can bring yourself back to the present, there you are.
But you
There
got to
you
pay
are.
attention.
Yeah.
So, how much attention are you paying to your emotions?
Mm,
Are you paying attention?
that's a
Or you
great
just
point.
write them off as whatever? Okay, using this situation, Courtney, if you weren't paying attention to these emotions, what would you write it off as?
I'm just too stressed to do it right now. Like I would
Okay.
come up with another excuse. I might make a fancy excuse, one that sounds real nice, real pretty that, maybe people wouldn't even realize that's an excuse, but it's still an excuse. So I would go to that part of my brain and come up with those type of
Fancy excuses.
yeah, just I would run this loop that I probably have on autopilot because I've practiced those excuses. So that's another one of paying attention to what your excuse loop is, but
Mm,
your emotions and man, I think it's it's almost this interesting phenomenon that's happening because in personal development we're taught pay attention to your emotions, pay attention to your emotions. And then there's a certain type that pays so much attention to the emotions. So I do want to point out, honor your emotions, but move through them. They're fluid. Emotions are fluid. So move through them. What can you do with this? Or what can if you are fearful, okay, like, you just channel it somewhere. So I don't want to get off topic with all that, but you got to channel these emotions. And it's just if you can get I think Sean Murphy said it at one point in a meeting he came and he was like he sat down and started the speech, but he was like, "How many times since you've been sitting here have you left this room?"
Mm.
And I think that's valid because, oh, our monkey brains,
So what else do we need to pay attention to?
let's see. We need to,
So pay attention to our emotions, pay attention to our environment.
I was going to say the folks you give your time to. Your time or your attention, you can call it either or, is one of the most, is the most valuable thing you have to offer another human. So if you are spending your time with a lot of people that make you feel drained and defeated, and the five closest people you hang out with are going to be what becomes your future, right? Or you're going to morph into that environment. So by all means, take control of that. Pay attention. You don't have to necessarily cut someone out. You just need to add some time and space in between and hang out farther and fewer between, and just see how that affects you being around a different type of personality. So I environment is huge. Also, it sounds silly, but declutter. Declutter.
Mm.
Your environment sets up your mindset for the day. So if you have put a lot of attention and time into building a sanctuary that you can just, like we're just ready to wake up and go to work, or do you have crap all around you and you can't think about your to-do list today because of all this stuff around. And what's interesting when you do study minimalism and clutter and cleaning, things like that, most people don't know until they become a clean person how much of an effect being a cluttery person has on their mindset. And I say this as a recovering clutter addict. So,
Me too.
but it's interesting, especially
but
because like 10 years ago, we wouldn't have said that affects our mindset as much as we would now, right? But
but
we
nothing will happen if you don't pay attention to what's going on. If
exactly.
you live in denial and you're not paying attention, all of this stuff will sneak up on you.
Yeah. And
Let's go
like,
to the comments real
yeah, I was
quick.
going to say, which one do you want to pick?
Let's see here. Jesse says, pay attention to what you say. Do we pay attention to what we say, or do we have what I remember being called diarrhea of the mouth?
That's a good one. Yeah, that's hey, the 4 agreements, be impeccable with your word, and, all that can have a lot of meanings. Be impeccable with your word means honor yourself when you speak to yourself. Those 80,000 thoughts a day that run on our subconscious, are they positive? Are they empowering? Pay attention.
Let's see here. We got a comment here. This is a good one. What if you are spending too much time by yourself? How do you get back out with COVID shut in?
That's a good question.
The fact that you're even making that observation is progress
Yeah.
because you're paying attention to what's going on,
Mhm.
right? So now that you're paying attention, now you're maybe even open to some steps because now you're even asking for advice. You're asking for help,
Yeah. And
right?
Sheila, I think you say a great point because you say, how do you get back out with the COVID shut in? I do want to highlight, a lot of our lives have changed since this last year. A lot of things have changed. It's just a different dynamic being stuck at home or in the home a lot more. So ask yourself what interests you now. So what you did a year and a half ago might not be the same thing you need to do now to get out, right? So just organically ask yourself, like, okay, well, what strikes my interest? So, and it can be going to a park. You can find meetup groups for random things, And so just I would make a little list of just things that genuinely interest you. Like just what interests Sheila. Just no one else. No one else, and just see what you can find in that area. But you can also get involved with virtual stuff. There's a lot of virtual things going on, but just bottom line, what interests you? Chase that.
And then once you get there and start chasing it, what's the topic of this episode?
Paying
Pay
attention.
attention. You
Yes.
got to pay attention. Once you get out there and start experiencing things and start figuring out what you're interested in and what you want to do, pay attention. Pay
Hmm.
attention to those emotions that come up. Pay attention to the people around you. Pay attention to what's going on in your environment. Don't just go out there eyes shut.
Hmm.
Let's see here. Jesse says, pay attention to what things mean to you. What do
Oh,
things mean to
that's
you?
massive, Jesse. Yeah, thank you for bringing that one up. Oh, the meanings we apply to things. Do you want to say anything on this? Or
Man,
what's
that's
that
a
thing?
whole episode.
Yeah,
That's what this whole podcast is about. Like
yeah, quite
99%
literally.
of what we talk about is the
Yeah.
meanings that we give to things. But again, if you're not paying attention, what happens? They just
On autopilot. And your brain will apply a meaning based off two things. Will it kill me? Have I seen this pattern in my past? So your brain will morph something that's totally unrelated into something and give it this meaning. And that's where you have like one word where can totally offend someone and then the other person thinks it's a joke. Like
Mhm.
how do we get to that point where they're so polar opposite? Well, it's a choice what meaning we give, but in order to see the choice involved or see how you have had that meaning to something up until now, you have to pay attention to it.
Pay
You have to pay
attention.
attention to it and look at it, right?
Every emotion, every feeling, every thought, everything you have to pay attention to
Yeah.
and kind of figure out where it starts.
Mhm.
If you're not paying attention, these things sneak up on you. You got to be the guard of your mind.
Mhm.
You got
Yeah.
to be the guard of your mind.
Now, I have one for you.
All
Pay
right.
attention to your gut.
Ooh.
Now, we could go on a health rant. I'm not
Oh,
about to do
okay.
that,
So we're
but
not talking about
we're not talking
probiotics,
about gut
prebiotics.
health,
Okay.
although
All right.
pay attention to your gut health. It's important. It controls everything else, and your immune system lives in your gut. Okay.
Probiotics,
Yeah.
prebiotics.
Public service announcement. But basically, pay attention to your gut. Now, I'm a huge believer in intuition and a huge, just, I love it all. Okay. So I really feel like it's a whole new language to myself of just energy. Now, if you aren't used to listening to your gut, you're what am I trying to say? Okay, so you're going to get messages come through more in the more serious times in life. So if something's majorly wrong, you're going to get a gut feeling. If
Mm.
something is about to happen, you might get a gut feeling right before it happens. Now, that will come through either way. Okay, that will come through as long as you allow it. But point being, that'll show up in the major times of your life or the major moments. Okay. But I want to take it down 2 or 3 notches. What about the daily moments? So it's called biofeedback, and your body literally gives you signs. Like there's exercise you can do for your body to say, show you a yes or show you a no. So you can ask a question and get biofeedback on what your subconscious, your whole body, your higher self feels. And so it is kind of woo woo, but that's my point is I want you to practice paying attention to your gut in everyday things. And it'll be something like I strengthen this constantly, and I've been obsessed with this for about 10 years and working on my intuitive abilities. But it's something where, like, if I feel somebody's lying to me, my body does something. There's a clue that I've trained it to give me if there's some kind of dishonesty around. Now, I'm not saying that's 100% accurate every time because it is an intuitive reading, but there are your intuition is there to help you every moment of your life. Don't just rely on it and ignore it and then only listen to it when you're about to get into a car accident or your gut says don't go that way, go this way, and you hear about something bad happening. So bring that into the daily moments, bring that into the gratitude, but it's just there's so much information stored in your gut. An entire different brain. What's the what does Tony Robbins talk about? Was the gut brain? No, the heart intelligence was
Yes.
formed in the womb before the mind.
Heart
So
heart congruence.
yeah. Yeah. So
Yes.
I could keep going on this, so I'll stop there. But just pay attention to your gut, but practice it in the everyday things because your body's constantly sending you feedback and signals that, yes, this is the right path. No, this is not the right path. But if you're not paying attention, what good does it do?
Pay attention to the feedback.
Yep. Yep.
You got to pay attention to the feedback. Feedback's all around you. Pay attention
I
to the
love Jesse.
feedback. Let's
Jesse
see
said, pay
here.
attention to the woo woo. It's okay. It's needed at times. Amen.
Pay attention to the people that fuel you. Pay attention to the people that drain you.
Yes.
Mm.
And take note and adjust. Don't just pay attention to it, adjust. Like do something with it. But yeah, it's just a big one. So,
It
okay.
is. It is a big one. Ah. So, if you don't pay attention, what happens? Just real quick. We got a couple of minutes left. If you don't pay attention to things, they sneak up on you.
They do.
They
Yeah.
go right by you.
They
They
shock
build up.
you.
They build up. Think about this. If you weren't paying attention to something and it was just piling up and piling up and piling up, and you ignore it and you're not paying attention, it will force you eventually to pay attention to it.
It's gonna blow up in your face and it's not
Yes.
gonna be pretty.
No. So you have two choices: either pay attention to it now and not live in denial, or don't pay attention to it and wait for some of these situations to force you to pay attention to them.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
say pay attention to them now. That's
Yeah.
probably the easiest thing to do.
It's one of the most valuable ways to build your life up quick because if you can pay attention in the moment, your future is just right now stacked 1,000 times. So you figure it out. I do want to bring another one we didn't touch on. What should you not pay attention to?
Mm.
Which could be its whole other episode by itself. But
I think that's probably is an episode of by itself. So part
yeah,
2 will be don't pay attention to these
yeah,
things.
there you go.
Don't pay attention to these things, right?
Yeah, there's a lot there. We're
There
just
is a
giving our
lot there.
attention away for free, and it's a valuable asset. Don't give it away for free.
I never really thought about it as a valuable asset, but I think you're right. It is a valuable asset.
I'm seeing a lot of kind of interchangeable with time. I was listening to a great Gary V show the other day, and I think it was a Malaysia keynote, and he talks about time. So let's say you waste 4 hours a day on watching TV or something or video games. Let's say your time is worth $50 an hour. Let's say it's
Mhm.
worth $200 an hour, right? So whatever scale you're on, you could be wasting hundreds or thousands of dollars weekly of your time just by doing that. Now, if that makes you happy and that fills you up and that makes you feel complete and fulfilled and that's all you ever want to do is play video games, rock on. Like I support you. But if you have goals in your life, you know, cut off the TV, you guys. Like save it for the weekends, do things like that. So just direct your attention. But I challenge y'all to, yeah, name a dollar amount per hour that your time's worth. Now, I'm not talking about your job, although yes, you have skills and abilities there, but pick an actual dollar amount that moves you, something that you're like, oh wow, but don't like lowball yourself. So pick $100 an hour, and every hour you waste, would you give that to someone else that you can't just give that away. So do something with it. Pay attention, do something that fills you up, and then watch TV on the weekends as a reward.
I'm sorry, Courtney, I wasn't paying attention. I was on my phone.
At first I was like, what's he looking up? And I was like, I think he's trying to be obnoxious. That's funny.
But
But
what is the most attention grabber thing right now of the 21st century?
our
It's right there in
phones.
your pocket. And
Yeah.
ironically enough, it's probably what you're watching or listening to us on. But
So
it is,
hi.
hey, hello. We're trashing the one device that's getting us out there to you. But it's true. You
Yeah.
know what? If it means that you don't tune into the podcast, put the phone down. I'd rather you do that. You'll get so much more growth from putting the phone down than pretty much anything else that you could do because it's a
Yeah.
time suck. And if you value your time at least 50 to 100, maybe even $200 an hour, think about how much time you're wasting here and it's not making any revenue
Yeah.
or improving your life. But
Absolutely.
we are here to improve your life. So that means you can listen to us. Yay, we're back.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh,
Oh,
great episode,
good one.
Courtney.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Make sure you like, share, comment
Yep.
down below. Let us know what you think. We love reading your comments and we'll go back and respond and read and interact with you guys.
Yes.
Remember to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at
Force for growth. And remember to be a force for good
The Force for Growth.
and a force for greatness. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.